So we are getting a last couple of responses here, but it seems like the trend that we could observe from the beginning just manifested itself also when we had more participants here in Mentee. So this seems like mentorship programs are not a prevalent option for our participants at the moment. So let's see what the panel has to say about it. Tanya, please start with the panel discussion.
Thank you very much, Liv. And I would say, lucky the 5 of you who have been both a mentee and a mentor. But this is maybe anticipating on the conclusion that the panelists may have or not. So it's now time for the third discussion panel, actually. We will explore not only the importance of mentoring and how mentoring can contribute to gender balance in scientific careers, but also the importance more generally of role models in this career. Our 5 panelists have all first-hand experience with mentoring or with career coaching. And as in the previous sessions, they will first present themselves when they first take the floor and give us a little hint on why the topic that we're discussing in this session relates to them. For the audience, again, like in the previous sessions, you're very welcome to ask a question or to comment on what is being discussed in the chat box, and it will be that we will make some time available to exchange with the panelists. So let's start with you, Nell, and specifically with a question on the role models for scientists. Why is it important that for young people to see role models that are representative of their identities?
Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity of speaking here and listening to you all. It has been very understanding till so far. So I hope this session will also be very interesting to all of you. So yeah, my name is Nell. I work at Ghent University within the HR department, and I am a career coach and a career policy advisor for PhD and postdoc researchers. I have been a postdoc myself, actually, for yeah, maybe too long, would people say now. So I think I am in the numbers of the ones who dropped out. But I hate that term, actually, dropping out. I don't see it myself that I dropped out. I stepped out, or I just found another job. That's also a phrase that you can use. And yeah, to that. To this moment, I am still very happy with that choice and the position I am in now. At Ghent University, I am also in charge of postdoc talent management, and I coordinate the mentoring program for postdocs. So I work a lot with postdocs on a daily basis. Actually, I love working with that target group because I think it's a real it's a target group that is very thankful for all the advice they receive. I am not at all a gender expert, but I do help in my job. I do help people, postdocs, in making positive career choices. And in that fact, I also I help both male and female postdocs, and I think that is a very important aspect. I think it was also mentioned several times in the previous panel. I'm sorry. So what I do in my individual coachings and in my trainings is so a lot of the postdocs struggle with the question, how do I combine work and family, because in opposition to PhD students, a lot of postdocs have a family, so they struggle with that question. Not only the women, I want to emphasize that, also a lot of male postdocs struggle with that. I help them reflect on that, and I help them to weigh their priorities in life and make up the balance, like what is really important in my life and where do I want to make compromises. Do I want to make compromises in my family life? Do I want to make compromises in my career? So by asking them these kind of questions, I help them, or at least I think I help them, to make a conscious and a positive career choice. And I think that is very essential, in a sense that if you make a conscious and positive career choice to stay in academia, then it has some kind of consequence, and that consequence might be that you might need some help in your home, for example, like Marissa said. And if you decide, or if you make the conscious choice to find a job outside of academia, that is also okay. So it is okay. Either way, what you choose, it is okay. The important thing is that it is a conscious choice, that it is a positive choice, that you realize that when you make a choice, you always lose something. There is no perfect career in which you can integrate everything, like there is no perfect relationship that can give you everything. So in that sense, I think, I help both female and male postdocs. But maybe I'm going too far in my introduction. So let's go to the question now. So why it is important to have role models, why it is important to have a mentor. I think one of the aspects is that postdocs are very insecure about themselves. For one thing, that's something I see a lot. And they're very insecure about all the roles they have in their life. They are a researcher, they are a mom, they are a friend, they are a wife, and they are very insecure about how they fill in all of these roles. And I think providing them with a role model, providing them with a mentor, helps them to see that it is indeed possible to combine all these roles, to like juggle all the roles you have. May it not be as perfect as you want it to be. And also they see someone who has encountered equal obstacles in life. For instance, if you have a family and you want to pursue an academic career, if they are matched with a female academic member who has a family, like Marissa said, that then they really see a live person who managed to overcome the obstacles, who managed to integrate a fulfilling family life in a fulfilling career. So I think that is one one important dimension of having a role model, of having a mentor. Another thing is that, and I really see that in postdocs, when I follow them throughout their mentoring year, I really see them growing. I see them gaining self-confidence, and I see that they become more and more empowered just by talking to a role model, talking to someone who has gone on the path where they also want to go. So there's also that aspect of empowerment. There's the aspect of learning from other people's experiences, also learning from other people's mistakes also. that's also something I really see in the mentoring program, that most of our mentors are really open and are really vulnerable in opening up about their own experiences, and by giving them that advice, that vulnerable advice, you really help the mentees also see that it's okay not to be perfect. It's okay maybe sometimes to make a mistake. It's okay maybe to fall on the ground. That's all okay, and just learn from these mistakes and get up and go further again. Yeah, and I think, and then I'm going to stop and give the floor to the other panelists. I think another important aspect is that mentoring provides a safe space for mentees where they can discuss topics that they feel that they can't discuss in their immediate professional environment. So a safe space in where they can also become vulnerable and open up about their insecurities and about the things they struggle with in life.
Thanks a lot. I think you've touched on many topics that are very relevant for this session. Tatiana, maybe you can elaborate a little bit further on your findings on the importance of role models. You have
okay, so first I'll introduce myself. So I'm Professor Tatiana Parac-Vogt, and I'm Professor of Chemistry actually at KU Leuven. And the reason why I'm here, I think it's because I used to be the president of BWise many years ago. And at that time, we actually launched the first national mentoring program in Belgium, I think, to the best of my knowledge. This was the first example of a mentoring program that connected mentors and mentees on a national Belgian level. And some years later, I, together with the colleagues at KU Leuven, also implemented a mentoring scheme at Faculty of Science at KU Leuven, which is now running, thanks also to Andrea Badin, who was the speaker in the previous panel. And so I have quite some experience in mentoring. And so to come back to the question, the role model, I mean, I always use this very simple sentence, which I think it's very plastic when I say, well, you cannot be what you cannot see. And I think this is the experience that many young women in science have, that they don't see many examples that it's possible to be a professor to start with, or to have combined a successful career and a family. And many of them get discouraged without even trying because they think it's not possible or difficult. It's a male-dominated environment and so on. So in that respect, I think role models are important because they serve as a good example. And I also want to mention that being a woman in science in general, you're per default a role model because you're one of the few. So people are looking at you, and you can be a good role model, but you can also be a bad role model. So I think we should also make distinction that that you should ask yourself, if you're a senior woman, what is the message that I want to convey to the younger generations, and that whatever you do and however you do it, that you serve as a good example. So that try to be a good role model and not just simply a role model. Yeah. Thanks
a lot, Tatiana. And indeed, you've been a very trusted mentor for many.
Oh yeah, I have many mentees, and I must say this is a very pleasure. I always say the best mentor-mentees relationships are two-way relationships. I mean, like any relationships in life, it's not just a mentor telling mentee what to do or to give advice. I think I also learned a lot from my mentees, and this is fantastic also experience for me. So you get back what you give, and I would just say everybody needs a mentor. I would really, if you're lucky, your current PhD or postdoc supervisor should be a good mentor, but it's not always the case because not everybody has a tendency or skills to mentor the people working for them. But then you should go and look elsewhere. I mean, there are many people around. If there is no mentoring skill in the organization where you work, try to find a mentor within some other scheme, like BWise, for example, and you will not regret it. I mean, everybody needs a mentor. I need a mentor. When I need advice, I talk to the more senior colleague of mine. I mean, everybody needs some support or some, good advice coming from somebody who means well and who has a relevant experience. So.
Great. So you're never too senior to get to be.
No.
Also.
Never, indeed, never too old to need a good advice.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we're talking about mentoring, and especially in the context of gender balance, we often get the question on the gender of the mentor, and I would like to elaborate a little bit on this with Tine. So, in your opinion, Tine, for young women scientists, do you think we need a female mentor or a male mentor? Does it matter? Tine, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. And good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for the opportunity to speak here. I introduce myself first very shortly. So I'm HR advisor on the topics of inclusion, equity, and diversity. So by no means I'm an expert in mentoring myself, but I'm aware of the obstacles for female researchers in academia, but also for other underrepresented groups. And I'm happy to have my colleague Nell Grillard here with me, who is an expert in mentoring, and I think we will be very complementary in this way. So very shortly, and now to answer your question, does it matter if it's a female or male mentor? My first response would be that it doesn't matter, and this is also how I believe it should be. I know that from Nell, as she already told us, the matches between mentor and mentee are made according to the concerns or the needs pronounced by the mentee. And the difference between female and male mentors is not so particularly noticeable or not expressed to be very particular, except maybe in the perception of speaking about maternity or family support related issues. And that's why, as Nell told us already, she will take into account these concerns and match the mentee with a mentor who has experienced the same obstacles. So regardless of the sex of the mentor. But besides this, we may not forget that the dynamics of gendered organization, which universities are. So mentoring programs have been developed in academia with a focus on leadership for women because of the effects of the glass ceiling and the leaky pipeline, which are playing still a huge role. So that's why somewhere we could say that male mentors may embody the institutional norm of success in the field, and that mentoring is the fastest way to copy and to try to learn that norm, or like Tatiana said this so nice, I like this, she said you cannot be what you don't see. So in additional of the material benefits like access to the crucial networks or the co-authoring or other forms of impact factors. But even then, to place this in a more larger perspective, it depends also on the number of female and male professors in your field, in the department, in the faculty. So you have to take into account that context and to see who is embodying the standards of success here. And also, in addition, still being aware that mentors may behave differently to female or male mentee. So I think that's a very important role for the matchmakers here, to be very sensitive about this and to approach the mentor and the mentee from an intersectional point of view. So who's in front of me in terms of gender, social background, that even taking into account the department, the fields, and etc.
Thanks a lot. It's very interesting indeed. I think we're gathering a lot of experience with mentoring schemes, and there are a big variety of them. Maybe I'll turn now to Anne, because very often also there is another kind of choice to make when you're setting up a mentoring scheme, and it's about the field of research. So Anne, you've been also involved in the mentoring as a mentee and as a mentor. Do you think it's important to find a mentor in your field of research, or can he or she be outside of your scientific community? And again, does it matter, or what is possible? And you have the floor.
Thank you, Tanya. And so first, I want to thank everybody for being present. I'm Anne van der Jeugd. I'm the current president of BWISE, Belgian Women in Science, but I'm also the program manager of the Leuven Brain Institute at KU Leuven. Like many of the speakers in this panel, I was in research and also I was a postdoc for maybe too long, for 7 years in my case. And since 4 months, I have now switched to a more managerial function, let's say. But indeed, I've been both a mentor and a mentee for BWISE. And I'm very lucky to have one of my mentors here in this panel also, Professor Tatjana Park-Vogt. So first I want to make this point to say that indeed, BWISE has its own dedicated mentoring program, in which we also pair a mentor and a mentee like the other programs. But BWISE also has some unique features actually on a mentoring model, because we are a typical Belgian panel. And we also have, like, for instance, French-speaking and Dutch-speaking members of BWISE, and we also try to pair them like this. So we have a multilingual mentor-mentee relationship. Besides that, also I want to stress that for sure, like Nel also mentioned, we want them to have a safe place where they can actually share their complete concerns with the mentor. So it's not only about doing research, but also the things aside. For instance, I want to go abroad, but how should I do it with my family, for instance? It's great to discuss those things with a mentor. Tatjana helped me a lot with those concerns. So it's very important that you have a mentor, I think, also outside your institution, that it's a safe place. There's also no conflict of interest along the pathway, that those things can occur, that it can be avoided. I would recommend strongly, for me it helped at least, to have a mentor outside my research field. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. We haven't heard yet from Bieke, and I think now is the right time to come in. Bieke, you're also involved in mentoring programs. So I would like to know whether you agree with what has been said so far, or whether you have different experiences or additional suggestions that you can make for a successful mentoring scheme.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Tanya. So I'll first introduce myself. Now, first, I want to actually congratulate the organizers of this event. It's been already very wonderful seeing all the speakers, and the chat is very interactive. I'm having difficulties keeping up, but so congratulations for that. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Bieke Broeks. I'm a postdoc at Hasselt University. I think I'm in my 8th year now, so probably too long already. I'm a mother of 2 young daughters, ages 2 and 4. And my research involves investigating chronic inflammation and blood-brain barrier disruption in multiple sclerosis. So it's not gender related at all. And well, most of the views on mentorship and advising that I will give you comes from experience and not from research that I've done on it. So my research topic involves wet lab research, which means that I have felt a significant impact of having kids, not being able to be in the lab while pregnant, for example, or of course being in a pandemic and also not being able to be in the lab because we had to stay at home. And this had a significant impact, I feel, on my research outputs. So because of that, I was triggered to, at Hasselt University, look for people who were like-minded and wanted to really make a case out of this. And so with some co-workers, we're now in the process of relaunching our Committee on Gender and Diversity, of which Professor Koen van Laar is also a member, by the way. We've heard him before. And we're going to relaunch it with a renewed team. So yes, I have some additional things to say about some of the topics that have been discussed before. So the first question was on why do we need to see role models, or why do young people need to see role models? And I think it was Nell who mentioned postdocs that need to see role models. So thank you for calling us young people. that's flattering. But from my experience, I see that role models are already necessary at a very young age. So I see this in my young daughters, actually, they're 2 and 4. And I see that they're already very much exposed to stereotypes. And I know that this is not a conscious transferal of stereotypes, but it still has a big impact on their worldview. So for example, illustrations in books, things they see in school, things they see with friends, shows on TV, etc. These things, they should all represent their own identities. And just to give an example, seeing girls or women as firefighters, or seeing boys and men as cleaning aides, this will shift their views and this will break stereotypes. And role models, I think, are crucial in breaking these stereotypes. So just an example, the recent appointment of Kamala Harris as the Vice President of the US is such a strong role model. It's such a powerful role model. And also the Nobel Prize winners, those are such strong role models for female young scientists, particularly. And I think, in theory, when this mindset and this mentality is fully established over the entire society, so not just academics, this will mean that all stereotypes are broken, and this would in theory mean that girls can believe that they can become whatever they want to be because they've seen it, right? You can't be what you can't see. We're not there yet, I think. I think this implies a widespread mentality shift. And I think this might already start with parents and daycare and schools, that there's already a mentality shift that needs to be there. So that was some of my input on the first question, but also now going to the question on having a mentor in academia. Do they have to be of your specific research field or no? So for me personally, I've had mentors of both types. I've also had male and female mentors. And I think all of them have helped me a lot. What I would say about mentors outside of your own field is that they can give you outside perspective. And also there will never be a conflict of interest which could arise in some occasions. And another thing that I would want to say about this is that what helped me a lot was career counseling. And this is something that is not even, it doesn't even have to be specific for academia, just a regular career counseling where people ask questions that also Nell talked about, I think, like what gives you energy in your job, what's energy draining, how do you see the different roles in your lives, how do you want to fulfill them? So those are really things that I also tell my own PhD students, master students to do, to go for career counseling, because this really helps a lot. And it doesn't even have to be specific to academia, and especially not specific to their own research field. So that would be the input from my side.
Thanks a lot. Very broad input also, and indeed the role of the importance of role models from a very early age, obviously. If we're talking about age and about specifically mentoring in academia, of course, we would probably like to have a mentor starting from the very beginning. But I suppose if the resources are limited, we want to focus maybe on a specific moment in the career of young women scientists. Tine, maybe you have some input or some insight into when is mentoring the most important or the most suitable for young women scientists? Tina, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I know in our university we have made the choice to provide mentoring at this early stage of the professorship. So this is the stage where we want that we think that one has obtained a certain consciousness or has made a positive choice about where to go and to stay in to have an academic career, for example. So in that way, mentoring can be applied as a useful tool to obtain that goal. But personally, I think that mentorship can even be a significant part of the career success at and even in an earlier stage or later on in professional life. At Ghent University, we have also experienced several times first generation students, so students in their first year who have with none of their parents having obtained a university degree, or for example students with a migration background, or students belonging to other represented groups. And we have also a mentoring program for them, and they have pointed like mentoring that mentoring was a very crucial factor for their success. And again, here I want to emphasize that we need to keep in mind that success is defined by an institutional norm, which fits some more than others, depending on your position, and that goes broader than gender. So I want to see it from an intersectional point of view. So belonging to an underrepresented group, it may be very important to have mentoring at an earlier age, even in pre-university life, or as a student, or as a PhD student. But of course, the underrepresentation of female academics starts in the postdoc position. But for many other underrepresented groups, the postdoc level is not the drop-off level, actually. So I'm in favor to monitor other forms of underrepresentation in the academic career path, and then also to see it in relation to gender, but also other characteristics.
Thank you very much. And do you have, either from your personal experience or from the mentoring program, do you have some specific views on when are key moments for mentoring, or whether this is actually really very much depending on the person, it's himself or herself?
Well, speaking for myself, I'm also, by the way, a first-generation university student, coming from a country, let's say, a farm situation, going to the big university in Leuven. So I was very proud to get my doctoral degree already now 6 years ago. And then I went abroad to Australia, and there I actually saw that mentoring is something that is very officialized there. So coming back to Leuven then, I was a bit like lost, and I found really a need for finding a mentor, because I really want to give my career the next boost. So that's how I actually found out about Be Wise, and then had a great mentoring from Professor Tatjana Vogt. So for me, it was like a bit, too late, because I already started a postdoc there, but I would love to have mentoring before that. So I think typically, also Be Wise, we have a lot of requests from women in their third year of doctoral studies, because that's really a tipping point for many women. They want to start a family also, so they have very personal issues, but also, for instance, it's a tipping point regarding to the career. So a lot of these people want to really go to industry, for instance. And that's also something novel now with Be Wise, that we're actually going to include now mentors from industry, so that our mentees can actually do some kind of a job shadowing or get some experiences also from industry, because I think that's really important. Moreover, I think that also this mentoring program is for all women. It's not because you're encountering problems you should go to a mentoring program. It's actually, we are there to help everybody. We actually want to coach women so that they can actually be the yeah, the professor they want to be for themselves. So I think it's really important that we must not allow talented women to leave science actually, because they think it's impossible, because that would be a waste, because we are here to prove that we actually can. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think it brings us back somehow back to what was mentioned also at the very beginning by Nell, and I want to give her the floor again. And it's been mentioned in the meantime also that it's not only about mentoring, but that it's about career counseling and making conscious choices. So Nell, maybe you can elaborate a bit on the role of mentoring in the whole trajectory of making conscious choices for your career, and especially also maybe making the link between academia and private sector research or private sector jobs in general. Nell, you have the floor.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think reflecting on your career is something that you can never start too early, I think. But if we just take a look at the academic trajectory, I think it is already good that we already begin with the incoming PhD students. Maybe not the full-blown career advice or the full-blown career reflection trajectory, but I think it's very important that once PhD students begin doing their research at university, that there is already an awareness to them that only a small minority will become professors. And then we actually come back to the role models, in my opinion, and I think a lot of you will agree, that we have to also raise awareness among our professors, among our supervisors, that it is important not to give PhD students the message that finding a job outside of academia is a failure, because this is already the point. I mean, these PhD students, when they're generation students, they're like 22, 23. They really look up to their supervisors. They are their role models. But when that supervisor gives them unconsciously, I believe, the image that a non-academic job is a plan B or a failure or something minor, then yeah, of course they all want to become professors and they don't want to look outside. So yeah, I think that's a very important aspect of the policy making within universities, working on these supervisors and making them aware of the fact how much impact they have when they are being that role model. So yeah, so we're back to the PhD student stage. I think that is already a process that is going on in most universities in Flanders, and I think international and in Belgium, that PhD students are made aware of the fact that they can't all pursue an academic career. We have the doctoral schools, of course, or the graduate schools with a lot of trainings and activities for PhD students. A lot of activities also in which they get into touch with non-academic employers. And then if we come to the question where mentoring fits in, I think a mentoring program is a kind of surplus or a very valuable addition if you have already done some reflection on your career. So if you step in a mentoring program completely unprepared as a mentee without having reflected at all on your career, I don't think it will be a big success. So there must be some reflection beforehand, So that is actually a bit independent of the stage you are in your career. I mean, if you are in the second year of your PhD trajectory, you can reflect on your career. You can go to a course or do it yourself or book a career coach. But that reflection moment is very important, I think. And that is why at Ghent University, but I think that it's common ground in most universities, that before we match our mentees, we give them a training, and we give it ourselves. So the people who do the matching give the training, because that also gives you an opportunity to get to know the postdocs, and that will help you in the matching. That's a very valuable information you get to do the matching with the mentor. So I believe that, yeah, mentoring is something that goes hand in hand with other resources of career developments within the university. Does that answer your question?
This is fantastic. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I don't know whether we still have a few minutes. Maybe Bieke would like to add something about the complementarity of the different tools, including the mentoring, but also a broader reflection on the career choices. From your viewpoint, being at the University of Hasselt.
Yeah. So sorry. What do you mean with broader career?
Maybe just about your experience on the mentoring as one of the possible tools for reflecting on your career choices.
Right. Yeah. So I'm currently actually enrolled in a mentoring program for postdocs, but also, of course, I've just had mentors outside of an official program. So the difference for me is that when you're not in an official program, you can get advice. So it's more advising than mentoring, I would say, which is always helpful, but the mentor that you see as a mentor might not know that you're looking for a certain career path unless you specifically tell them. So when you're in an official program, I think this creates the framework that is necessary for both parties to know what the expectancies are. So I would strongly advise people that either want an academic career or a career elsewhere in industry, for example, to get into such a mentoring program. So at Hasselt University, we do have a mentoring program for postdocs, both for academic careers as well as for careers in industry. So they have the option to choose, and they are then paired with a specific mentor, as Nell mentioned before, based on their preferences and after also an initiation phase where there is a certain reflection. So yeah, I think this is a great system that we have at Hasselt University, and that's also available at other universities, and also the BWise mentoring program. There's also other societies. For example, I know there's a society of international women in multiple sclerosis research. They also have this type of mentoring program, also for PhD students, by the way. So I would advise young researchers to look for these programs and really to get involved, because it's really, really helpful. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. I've seen also on the chat that we have lots of questions on the practicalities of the mentoring. So I think we can nicely move on to this. Thanks to all the panelists, first of all, and please stay here because I'm sure there will be lots of questions for you now. Liv, you have the floor.
Just one thing, sorry to bother you all. We're going to upload the mentoring program. It's a PDF. So if you can take a look at the chat, because audience have been interested on this document. So in just a second, it's going to be appearing in the chat. So I hope that you can see it already.
And I think it provides some information on all the different programs we've been discussing so far.
Exactly, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. That was actually my first point on the agenda for now, to kind of let you know that we have this collection of mentoring programs, and I already saw that a lot of people also posted their experiences and also other mentoring programs in the chat. So spread the word and use the resources that were indicated in the chat as well for your own careers or for the careers of others. I have a couple of questions to the panelists, and one is from Ioana to Tatiana. And the question is, don't we even put more weight on the shoulders of women when we ask them to be mentors as well? Tatiana, please.
I'm sorry, yeah. Do you mean when we ask them to be good role models or to be good mentors? I didn't quite get the question.
In the mentoring role.
Mentors.
Yeah.
Okay, no, but I mean, I think what I meant that we should be good role models is that you just have to, I mean, like anything in life, serve by, I mean, act by being a good example. And but by doing that, I know is what is you should, I mean, give an example of somebody who is helpful to other people, especially to younger women, because we all know about this sort of syndrome of queen bee, of somebody, you know, woman who succeeded and is not willing to help anybody else because she wants to stay as the one and only, you know, queen bee. And therefore, I think it's important for those women who did make it to a certain level in the career to serve as a good example and be mentor, proactively be mentor to younger female scientists in the sense of telling them, listen, I'm here to help and not to just, you know, I mean, you know, serve as or act as a queen bee and preserve my position and block everybody else succeeding. But I think this is part of personalities. I mean, you have people who are like this and who are like that. And if you're fortunate, you will. And I was very fortunate that most of the women I know are actually extremely helpful and want to help and support others, but not, there are some exceptions probably as well. I'm not sure if this was the question, but I don't hear you, Liv. Yeah, I think you're muted.
Thank you very much. Another question that I would have is to Tina, and that's about, you talked about the different mentoring program that UGent has. And my question is, how, like, who do you actually reach with your program? Do you keep track on which groups of people, also with this intersection elements, do you actually reach and which ones you're not reaching?
Yeah, I was talking before on the coaching program, the mentoring and coaching program for students. And there we are reaching students from migration background or first generation students. They can step in the program as they want to. So it's by self-definition actually, but we reach the target group. And it also has, we hear very successful stories from the students. We have this program for several years already, but it was only focusing on students. And then for staff members, for the academic staff, we have a mentoring program from the postdoc level, but as Nell said also, but she just told it in the chat, we are also thinking about a mentoring program from the PhD level on. I don't know if that is an answer to your question.
Let me ask a little further, like, how do you target these specific groups then? Do you have like a specific mailing list, a specific communication strategy to actually reach the people who would benefit the most from those mentoring coaching programs?
Your question is now about the student mentoring program or the...
About all of them.
About all of them?
Yeah.
Maybe I can add about the postdoc mentoring program. And so we also have a mentoring program for professorial staff also. How do we target them? We get all the email addresses out of the database, the postdoc database, and then we send out a general email to all postdocs in which we invite them for an info session. Because then it becomes more personal. So we give an info session, they can ask questions, etc., etc. During the info session, we also invite former mentees and mentors to give testimonials. So during the info session, it becomes a really alive thing, which a mail cannot transfer. And then if they are interested, they can apply, and then they have to write yeah, a rather substantial motivation statement also. And so yeah, we reach everyone. And your question, so just some numbers. I think we reach most of yeah, the postdoc population within the university, because I think 50% of the participants in every edition is like 50-50 male-female, approximately, of course, and 50-50, yeah, Belgium and international postdocs. The program is also fully in English, so yeah, I think we reach most of our postdocs. And number wise, we have every edition we have like 70-80 couples, matched couples. So, but Tina, maybe you want to add something?
Yeah, yeah, I will very shortly add. Thank you for telling something about the matches or the target group for the postdoc. Yes, if I want to add something for the students about how we reach them, actually there are some role models who have followed the mentoring program in the previous years, and they go and tell something during the courses in the first semester of the academic year. They give testimonials, info sessions in smaller groups. And also important that it's given by role models, I think, because we mentioned this earlier today. And then people, yeah, we tell in the info sessions, we say what kind of target groups or which kind of people would benefit from the mentoring program, but then it's up to the students themselves to identify them, whether they want to step in or not. But we see most of the students in the mentoring program are students with migration background or first generation students.
I think that's a great follow-up question I see now in the chat coming. How do you monitor the effectiveness of your mentoring relationships between the mentor and the mentee? Are there follow-ups, questionnaires, or something similar?
Yes, to give, maybe afterwards I can give the floor to Nell, but when we're talking about the student mentoring program, yes, there are follow-ups. We even follow all the mentors during the second year. The mentees become mentors, and we keep in touch with them actually during their whole student career. And there are also a lot of evaluations. Yeah, mentor students are trained to evaluate and to have tools for feedback from the mentees on a very yeah, follow-up way.
Thank you very much, Tina. Nell, anything to add from your
Yeah,
part?
we also do evaluations, and we also try to have some kind of yeah, maybe it's a bit strange to say personal, but still some tie with all the mentees throughout the mentoring year. I think that's really important. I give them the message that they can always reach out to me if they have any problem. So I really have, you say this, the finger on the pulse, or I try to have the finger on the pulse with all the couples. And I think that is also a way to get information on how everything is going. But yeah, of course, until now, we do not. Yeah, I think it's very important to measure impact of a mentoring program. It is probably possible in some way. I wouldn't know which one, but evaluations is at this point still the only thing how we try to measure impact. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, all of you, for your insight on the different mentoring programs and your personal experiences, both as mentors, but also some of you already have been mentees in the past. So let's have a look how the participants now feel after this session. And the question is, would you like to become involved in a mentorship program? Yes, as a mentor, both as a mentee and a mentor. No, I don't know yet. So undecided. Okay, 50 participants already gave their vote, and it seems like that the majority wants to become involved, both as a mentee or even both as a mentee and a mentor. And as this question arose in the chat with a heated discussion about who's actually attending this event and how many men are involved, we just included another slide for you to indicate your gender, so we know who's actually joining today. And I will give it a couple of more seconds or a minute so we have as many participants as possible getting into Mentimeter. So it looks like we are kind of stabilizing around 70 answers, and the majority of today's participants are female, but we have also a couple of male participants and diverse participants as well. So I think that gives a nice overview of who we are having here today, actually. Thank you very much. And with that, I'm giving the floor to Tanya back.
Thank you very much. And thanks to everybody. We're gonna close this 3-panel session, but of course you should stay for the last part of the event because we're gonna have a storytelling session. So through the 3 panels, first of all, we have explored how it's possible to close the gender gap. First, looking at current research on gender bias, ways of correcting the gender bias, the role of mentoring and of coaching and career counseling. We'd like to discuss much more, and I've seen the very active chat, which is really great. But we're now just having another 5 minutes break before the last and next session, which will be quite different. We'll have 5 stories to inspire you, whether you're a man or a woman. And we will listen to 1 inspirational talk from Michelle and to 4 unique testimonials from 4 passionate scientists. We'll give you 5 minutes again to stretch your leg and have a little bit of relaxing outside of your screen. And I'll see you all together with the 5 storytellers at 3:10. Thank you.